don't go back and watch it because one of the conferences doesn't even exist anymore. And so you probably won't really gain any value out of going back and seeing that, other than seeing the weight that I have not lost over the past 8 years, maybe. But
move-in day is stressful enough. If even one student shows up and there's no mattress, the whole experience falls apart. Bad reviews, hotel costs, and a lot of scrambling. Inspections miss mattresses all the time, and local stores rarely carry the right size. That's why student housing pros rely on studenthousingmattress.com, powered by Jameson Bedding. Their US-made mattresses ship quickly anywhere in the lower 48 and include the durable blue vinyl models everyone in the industry knows. Stay ready for move-in. Visit studenthousingmattress.com to learn more.
what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Student Housing Insight podcast. I'm your host, Wesley Deese. I'm also the CEO of Student Housing Insight. If this is your first time tuning in to us and you don't know anything about us, we are a platform for off-campus student housing professionals to network, share ideas, as well as data. You can find out more about our platform by visiting our website at studenthousinginsight.com. In addition to the podcast, we also host the industry's monthly webinar for the U.S. called ShopTalk. Each month, we provide legislative and policy updates that are impacting our industry. ShopTalk also provides a monthly overview of pre-leasing data on a national and a regional basis, along with a panel of operators who provide their on-the-ground observations of how the leasing season is going. And we typically provide a topic of the month as well. So a lot of great information. And if you are involved with the operations of student housing in the U.S. In any kind of way, be it as a manager or from an owner-operator perspective, as well as from the vendor supply side, you should be registered to receive our monthly invites. And you can register to receive those, as well as review prior ShopTalk webinars by going to shoptalk.info. Again, that's shoptalk.info. We'll also provide that link in the show notes as well. Well, if you've been following this podcast over the many years, you know that the end of February and beginning of March signals our spring conference preview episode. And this is that episode. So the very first video podcast that I did, and it had to be video because I wanted to show this from a visual standpoint. And that's when we started our YouTube channel, was actually in response to messages that I had received asking, hey, which conference should I go to? You know, I'm a C-suite executive, I'm a site level manager, or I'm a supplier partner to the industry, and I would really kind of want to understand what's the best conference for me to go to that's worth my time and my money, because we all have to deal with the property budgets or company budgets, especially for our supplier vendors to the space. They're not just supplying student housing; they're supplying the rest of the multifamily rental business, as well as hospitality and hotels. And so, kind of drilling in on exactly what's the best conference for them to go to was something that I was getting asked quite frequently. So we did our first video with that. We'll put a little snippet in here so you can kind of see how I've aged over the past 8 years. And don't go back and watch it because one of the conferences doesn't even exist anymore. And so you probably won't really gain any value out of going back and seeing that, other than seeing the weight that I have not lost over the past 8 years, maybe. But that episode really started this tradition of having both a spring and a fall episode to preview the conferences that were coming up in the months ahead. And not just to give my perspective on the conference, but to really provide an opportunity for the event host to also promote the agenda and talk about what was going to be going on. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'm assuming you're probably going to fit in one of two categories. Either this is probably the first time that you're considering on attending a conference, maybe because you're new to the industry, or maybe you've going from site level to regional manager and you're wanting to kind of expose yourself to more of kind of the global conversations that are happening around our industry, or you heard that there were some new conferences this year and you wanted to hear more. So regardless of which camp you fall into, please know that all of these conferences that we're about to go over, as well as some others, are listed on our website at studenthousinginsight.com. You just click on our events page, and it's right there at the top of the page, or if you're on mobile, should be over in, I believe, the left-hand corner. And there we provide really just a complete listing of all industry events and conferences, as well as webinars that are happening in the U.S. and Canada. We're happy to add conferences in other parts of the world. We just need those companies to reach out and submit a request. But I know we get a lot of listeners and viewers from other countries, and especially in Europe and Australia. They've got conferences as well that we're happy to post on there as well, and really just be that global resource. But we typically post off-campus student housing events, but occasionally you'll see multifamily or prop tech conferences that are linked there, because they either plan to provide a student housing content, either a session or a learning track at the event, and we want to make sure that that's included as well. But here's the most important reason you should bookmark our events page. In fact, let me just bring it up here. We'll share it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. And if you're listening to this as an audio podcast, I'll try to explain it the best that I can, what we're looking at here. But if you go to our events page, clicking on that now, you'll see here just a complete list of all industry events, both stuff that we are hosting, as well as anything else that's happening, again, typically in the US and Canada, that is student housing or student housing adjacent. But here's what I want to tell you. Regardless if you're used to going to the host's registration page, their website, check out our events page first, because what you'll see here, and here I've got the first one here that's coming up March 3rd. Don't know if this podcast will be out by March 3rd. But right there, we've got underneath the graphic, exclusive discount. Be sure to enter code ShopTalk20 for a 20% discount when registering. So we've got several of these conference promoters that understand the importance of student housing insight. They want to make sure, because we also talk about these events on ShopTalk as well, that they're providing a discount to folks from our audience. So Bisnow, we've got 20%. One in Canada, the Student Housing Summit from Bernard, we'll talk about that shortly. They're also offering a 10% discount. So make sure that you go there and try to save yourself some money before you register. So let's dive into what is on tap for this spring. And we're going to talk about student housing conferences that Bisnow is producing, as we are going to start this conversation. If you've never been to a Bisnow conference or event, they're more typically focused on a geographic region. And they're typically just a half day. They're really great for networking with industry experts that are in that region. They have 4 of these conferences that are scheduled. So you've got coming up again, March 3rd, the Philadelphia Education Real Estate Conference. This does include student housing, but want to let you know, unlike the one that they typically do in Philadelphia in the summertime or early fall, this is also going to include childcare centers, K through 12, higher education, and student housing. So just be aware of that if you're going thinking this is going to be a student housing conference or a higher ed conference this year. With this one in the spring, or in March, I should say, they are going to be extending that to K through 12 and childcare as well. Skip down here to April, and we've got the Boston Higher Education and Campus Development Conference. That's going to be on April 14th between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. And then we've got two more that are happening this spring that are actually in California. On April 30th in the San Francisco area, it is the Northern California Student Housing and Higher Education Summit. Again, that's on April 30th. On May 13th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the San Diego Student Housing and Higher Education Conference. Let me click on that really quick and just kind of show you what to expect here really quick. I'm actually going to back up here just for a minute and show you how you can find all of their student housing conferences. And we're in a promotional or cooperative agreement with Bisnow. So they are sending us all of their student housing and higher ed events. They're providing for our ambassadors to attend, free registration. And then also, as I mentioned earlier, the discounts for our audience members as well. But if you ever want to go to their website and see what all they've got, for some reason, don't trust us that we've got it on the website, on our events page. If you go to events and go to calendar, and then just under all topics, scroll down to student housing. So you click on student housing, and it will generate this list of everything that is currently planned. Again, I'm going to click on this one in San Diego that's coming up on May 13th. You see there, you can register for $135. These are super affordable. And again, we're going to be providing another 20% discount if you grab that code off of our event page. And see, we've got Jasmine Zelenko, who is president and COO at Pierce Education. She's going to be talking, some great speakers here. David McCullough with McCullough Landscape Architecture. And you've got also folks from the P3 and the higher education world here as well. So some local universities on the speaker list as well. And I know that will continue to grow between now and May 13th. So that'll give you, again, go to our website, into the events page, click on the registration, and you'll get all of the details there. So those are the Bisnow summits or conferences that are coming up this spring. Make sure you go check those out on the event page and use that discount code. So let's now talk about what's the biggest conference in the student housing industry, and that is the Interface Student Housing Conference in Austin, Texas. That's coming up March 30th through April 1st this year, so a little bit earlier than it has been in the past. And I recently sat down with Rich Kelley of Interface Conference Group and Student Housing Business Magazine. So, yes, if you're a subscriber to Student Housing Business Magazine, this is the same sister company. France Publications is the parent company, and Interface Conference Group is their conference company under the France umbrella. But I recently had Rich Kelley on to sit down and talk about what's on tap for this year's conference. So let's go to that interview right now. Well, Rich, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Wes. Good to be here as always. Appreciate you offering the opportunity.
Well, thanks so much for you guys putting this conference on. We're talking about the Interface Student Housing Conference, which is the biggest student housing conference, at least from an off-campus perspective, I think, in the world. So last year, 1,600 attendees or so?
Yeah, we were just below that. I think just somewhere between 1,500 and 1,600. We are tracking at this point right along the same path, which is great. So I would think we should be right at around the same number, or maybe a few over, maybe a few under. But it'll be pretty much everybody in the space there at one time. So it'll be a very great crowd.
Well, it's coming up in Austin at the end of March. We'll talk more about it in just a second, but last time you and I were together for the podcast, at least, we were, talking about LeaseCon, TurnCon, and it was a fabulous LeaseCon, TurnCon as always. We had okay weather here in Charlotte for Charlotte in December, but yeah, I'd just like to kind of, let's close the loop a little bit on that conference and your thoughts on that. And I hear, rumor has it, that you guys have already locked in for next year's LeaseCon, TurnCon.
We do. I'll save that surprise for the end. Yeah, the event LeaseCon was great. The 25-26 leasing season was not quite as easy, or if maybe easy is not the right word, but didn't go quite as smoothly as maybe the last couple of years had in terms of velocity and rental rates. So that topic was very much discussed, as was the trend, I guess you'd call it this year, of students kind of disappearing from the market. And we're not sure where they're disappearing to, but the common consensus was that they probably wound up in conventional multifamily product. Conventional multifamily has been having some issues in a lot of places and is offering, 2-3 months free rent, which looks pretty good to those student residents who are facing, rents that have grown higher and higher in purpose-built off-campus student housing. So that was definitely discussed, was, how to counter the conventional multifamily market and try to get those residents back into purpose-built student housing. And then, we got updates on, kind of how some markets are performing, what's hot, what's not when it comes to, digital marketing, social media marketing. We had a great student panel this year moderated by you that had, I think, some really good insights and some great question and answer from our attendees at the end. So overall, it was a lot of fun. It was a great event. Next year, after, a good number of years in a row in Charlotte, we are going back actually to the conference's roots and going back to Dallas. Center of the country, easy access in and out of either DFW or Love Field. Certainly a strong number of student housing players based in Texas. So LeaseCon, TurnCon will be December 7th and 8th at the Westin Galleria, which is a really good hotel right where the tollway meets 635, very centrally located. And, we look forward to another great event. And, who knows what we'll be talking about next year with what happens with the leasing cycle and marketing and everything else. But there's never a dull moment.
No, I'm excited for next year. It's always great having it in my backyard and, not having to to stay at a hotel and be able to sleep in my own bed at night and that type of thing. But it's it's good to be back in Texas and something a little bit more center of the country, so that we had a pretty good contingency of folks that came from the West Coast to Charlotte, and would like to see more of that. So I think Charlotte, I think Dallas is perfect, and looking forward to it. Well, hey, let's talk about Interface. The dates for Interface Student Housing Conference in Austin, which I think you've told me before. The original one, the original Interface conference, was it in Dallas?
First Interface Student Housing ever was in Philadelphia, actually.
That's right. That's right.
I don't think we did the event in Dallas. I think the first LeaseCon was in Dallas. But no, I think we went right to Austin after Philadelphia. This year is probably, I haven't gone back and checked, but it's probably the earliest calendar-wise we've ever had. Believe me, it's not our call or certainly our desire, because actually it makes our life a lot tougher on many different fronts. But, we hold the event when the JW Marriott tells us we can hold the event. And these were the dates we got for this year. So it is early. Easter's early this year. I think this year we're running into spring break in Chicago and a couple other places, which is unfortunate. But, I learned a long time ago, scheduling events, you're always going to have a conflict with something, unfortunately. But so the event is Monday, April 30th through Wednesday, April 1st. That is no April Fool's joke.
Well, it kind of was, because you said April 30th through April 1st.
Oh, I'm sorry.
March 30th through April 1st.
Through April 1st. Yes. Some people in the interface student housing world, they're excited we're not running into the masters this year, which is we something we often do. So those folks are happy they get to go to the masters and not worry about interface and being in Austin at the same time. But it's early. From what I'm gathering, and probably you as well, it seems like there's a lot of stuff percolating in the industry. So I think there'll probably be some interesting announcements on some big transactions, either just before or perhaps during or right after interface student housing. Certainly a lot of meetings get held to talk about big transactions while everyone's in Austin. So it's been a busy first 6 weeks of the year, and the next 6 weeks will be busy as well. But we're excited about it.
I know the agenda's still coming together, but I'll pull up here really quick the website and kind of go through some of the speakers here. I mean, super lineup as always. It's all the movers and shakers in the business, both from not only the owner operator and development side, but also a lot of folks from the finance and brokerage side, as well as architects and third-party management groups and vendors. And it really is the all-star lineup of student housing for sure that not only attends, but is part of the speaker lineup. So excited to see that. I know there's a lot of things going on from a tech standpoint that that are going to highlight a lot of what's in the exhibit hall. For those that may be out there listening, as a service provider, is there any room left in the exhibit hall, or is that all taken up?
As we record this today, yes, we have about, I think it's 8 or 9 tables left, or booths left, I should say, in the exhibit hall. And then we have, I think, 4 or 5 tables on the 3rd floor that are available. I do expect that we will sell out on both. So if you're interested or you're contemplating it, please reach out sooner rather than later. Have some interesting new panels this year. I think we did this last year, but we're going to go more in depth this year on, AI and obviously its impact on all facets of what's going on in student housing. Somewhat related, a new panel we're going to do this year is on kind of data and analytics. I mean, we hear so much about data and analytics in every realm of our lives these days, whether it's sports or business. But it seems like that's something in student housing that companies are really trying to drill down and study their numbers. And when I say data, I'm not just talking about the data of leasing and occupancy and things like that. We're talking about operations and operating more efficiently and hopefully then more profitably. I think that will be an interesting discussion. The W Collective has once again come up with a great panel title on kind of leadership and how how smart leadership can really impact and help organizations. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, obviously panels that talk about investment and development, both of which are very strong, especially the investment market, but development as well. Financing, I am told that there's never been more capital available in the debt side of the space right now. So I think that'll be interesting. And then you mentioned third-party management and operations. The industry continues to see more entrance into the third-party management space, which is interesting. You think, given how hard a business is, it might be the opposite, but instead it seems more folks want to get in. So that'll be an interesting topic too.
Interesting what you said about the data part of it. It's going to be interesting from this perspective. When I was at NMHC, of course you were there as well, back in October, there were a lot of comments that were made about, everything related to sharing data from a pre-leasing standpoint, and where some folks were what their thoughts were on it, and kind of it's going to be interesting to see now that we will essentially be at that point a month away from the spring semester ending. If that perspective for any of those individuals have changed now that they're at the end of the leasing season and they're trying to figure out where everybody else is at. So make sure if you're on one of those panels that you ask that question.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that was also, of course, a very often discussed topic at LeaseCon, TurnCon too. So the data, the data I'm talking about it's related. It's not all property level data that's been so much discussed over the last 6 months. This is also data from at the property level, from an internal machination standpoint. But yeah, it's just, data is the word on everybody's lips these days for various reasons.
Well, and it's amazing too. We're recording this, right before our February Shop Talk, and I was working with a panel on our topic for the month is preparing for Turn in 2026, and we've got some of the folks that Chase Menenfield with Easy OS, and Eddie from TurnCon, and Ray from Property Doctors, and started talking about, hey, what kind of data can you guys actually share? And Chase sent me some things over where they were comparing trends between over the past 2-3 years on what they've been able to get from their platform, and from a national and regional and state level standpoint. And those were just numbers, even 4 or 5 years ago, we just didn't have as an industry. And so
Right.
it's amazing to see that and be able to sit down and digest it and really think about what's going behind some of those numbers and how they're trending. So excited about that. Well, let's talk really quick about JW and the hotel. I think rumor has it that the room block is sold out from that standpoint. Is that the case? And what are you guys providing rooms at any of the other locations?
Yeah, the room block hung in there pretty well. We added more rooms this year than we've ever had in our room block. I guess we should have added more because eventually it did sell out last week. And what we're doing is both taking we are putting names on a waiting list for rooms at the JW if anyone would like to get on that. Rooms do tend to open up and clear, so being on the waiting list is not a hopeless task. There's a good chance you may get in. And beyond that, we are fortunate that by the JW, there are a plethora of really good hotels. The Hyatt Place is literally next door. There's another Marriott about 200 yards away. The Westin is not far. So there's no shortage of places, and we have those listed on the venue page of the conference website, and also we'll have it in every email promo that we send out from now until the event. Yeah, there
Perfect.
You go.
Yeah, here we go. Westin, Austin, Four Seasons, Hyatt Place, The Lawn, Fairmont, Austin. Yeah, great hotels, and there's a lot of. It's amazing what you can find on Airbnb these days in downtown Austin as well. So,
I bet.
Go check that out. Well, hey, anything else with the agenda? And I know we've got the Innovator Awards. The deadline for that just passed. So, excited to see who's up on the who's going to be judging that, and what's the any new categories for this year?
We didn't add any new categories. We did have a very strong turnout of submittals. The deadline for that was just the other day. And Randy reports to me that I think the same number, or maybe a few more than last year. We're going to try to, recognizing that people have a lot of things going on while they're in Austin at the event, we're going to try to streamline the presentation even a little bit more and get everybody out there a little earlier in case they need to get to a dinner. Judges will be invited very shortly. And that whole innovator process is kicking into gear.
Well, great. Well, can't wait to see the folks that are going to be winning that glass that night and celebrating with them. So I did want to certainly make mention to our audience, if you're an owner or an operator, we are also doing what has now kind of become our annual tradition of hosting a brunch on the opening day for owners and operators that are coming in town. Because you get into interface, and as soon as that first session kicks off, everybody has got a full schedule, and trying to doing some networking between operators is always a little tough. And so we wanted to kind of create that space, especially for operators, to kind of come together and break bread. And then we also have a podcast that we record in front of the live audience. And so that is going to be, thanks again to the folks at Interface for providing the room to do that. And that will be at the JW starting at 11 o'clock. So if you come in early, make sure you've got that on your calendar. You can go to our website on the events page, studenthousinginsight.com, click on the events page. All the industry events are listed there. But we also have, in addition to Interface being there, you'll see we're calling it the ShopTalk Link Up at Interface. And you can, you have to get an invite. We don't let just anybody register. You do have to be an owner or an operator. But you can request an invite by going there. So, Rich, I'm looking forward to it again, and I'm not worried about it being on March 30th or having to get on an airplane on April Fool's Day to head back. It's always a great time to be in Austin. It's always a great time to be with everybody involved in this industry, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, we are too. We're blessed to be in an industry that is filled with both good people and well-performing properties. So it should be a very good event. I think industry is as healthy as it's been. There's always little things here and there, but overall, the industry's in a really good shape, and I think we'll hear that and we'll be able to reflect on it and appreciate it those 3 days in Austin. So we're very excited. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.
All right. See you on March 30th.
You bet. Thanks, Wes.
Again, a big thanks to Rich for giving us some time to talk about what's coming up in Austin later this month. And if you plan to be in Austin for the conference, I hope to see you there. Would love to talk to you about all the things that we're doing at Student Housing Insight, as well as my consulting business, Providential Student Housing. If there's anything you want to talk about from a student housing perspective, please seek me out. And we'll also put my email address in the show notes so you can email me there as well. Okay, so next on the list is the Canadian Student Housing Summit that is happening in Toronto on May 28th, hosted by Bernard. I may be saying that wrong. They're based in Austria. It may be Bonnard. I'm not really sure. But if you're not aware of Bernard, they provide a data platform that tracks residential rental data across several countries. I know in South America, obviously Canada, across Europe and Australia as well, maybe some Asian markets as well. I'm not sure. You can find out more at their website, and we'll provide a link in the show notes for that. But to tell you more about the company and the summit in Toronto, here's the interview I had with Bernard's Chief Growth Officer, Martin Varga. Well, Martin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Wesley. Thanks for having me.
Well, Bernard is definitely, has kind of become a staple in a lot of information that I go through, data that I go through on an annual basis now regarding what you guys are reporting on the student housing sector across the world. And so we're giving a little bit of a preview of all the conferences that are coming up this spring. And you guys are doing a conference that I think this is probably the third year. I think you mentioned that this has been in place in Canada, but it's not, you guys are no stranger to Canada. But before we get into the event, if you could just give us a little bit of background for our audience members who have maybe never heard of Bernard and what you guys do.
Maybe for a brief intro, Bernard is, as you mentioned, a global data research and advisory platform focused entirely on living sectors, especially student housing, co-living, build-to-rent, and senior living in that scale. And in student housing, we track 17,000 of assets across more than 370 markets globally, representing more than 3 million beds, which all is giving investors, developers, operators, and lenders asset level intelligence they can actually rely on. And what makes us different is that we're not just analysts sitting behind the screens, but we work directly with the clients on underwritings, feasibility studies, and strategies to see real transactions and real pipeline in the markets. And over the past years, we've supported more than 1,000 projects globally and helped investors to deploy billions into the sector.
Well, great. That's a fantastic overview. I think, where I first came across you guys, I think you were making a presentation maybe it was at the Interface Student Housing Conference. I think I know I've met some of your folks at NMHC previously, but kind of given some background on what you guys were tracking from a data standpoint with kind of both migration of students as well as what was happening from a development investment standpoint. Probably in the UK, I think that was where I first came across you guys. But I've looked at kind of a lot of the white papers and things that you guys have put out, and you guys are a fantastic resource. I would certainly encourage everybody to go check out their website at bernard.com. And you guys are based in Vienna, Austria, or is that the HQ?
Yeah, the HQ is in Austria. But we have a team and people working all around the places. We have also office in APAC, a couple more offices across the continental Europe, and a team of people that travels all around the places and assessing the opportunities, collecting the data, visiting the assets. So it's a huge ecosystem now working to provide this data and expertise.
Oh, great. Well, hey, let's jump into the Student Housing Summit that is coming up in Toronto. I'll go ahead and share the website for those that are watching this on YouTube. And if you want to, we'll put the link in certainly in the show notes. But if you want to go to their website, again, it's bernard.com. And I think you click on the Insights tab. That's where you've got your events and everything listed. Give us kind of a breakdown of what's happening with this summit, maybe a little bit of a breakdown in the topics that you've got on the agenda, and let's give everybody an overview of what they can expect.
Yeah, sure. As you rightly mentioned at the beginning, it's going to be already a third edition, and it's in Toronto, the May 28th. And the Toronto Student Housing Summit is designed to be highly practical, not only theoretical. It's a one-day program, but very dense in insights. We're bringing together the investors, developers, operators, lenders, and as well the universities, so you can get a full ecosystem in one room. And the panels will be covering the topics like capital flows and investment appetite in Canadian student housing, obviously the pros and cons, all the challenges, but also all the opportunities that we currently see in Canadian student housing, the development feasibilities and construction economics, operational performance benchmarks, debt and financing conditions, and how Canada compares globally in terms of the yields, demand, and supply gaps. Since we're a global student housing company and research, we can easily provide the benchmarks to other more kind of major markets and show kind of Canada how they can grow faster, learning from the others. So we're also focusing on the market transparency, that way real data, real case studies, real deals. And the goal is that attendees walk away not just informed, but with kind of actionable ideas and great connection at the same time.
Yeah, I love how you guys have kind of breaking the agenda down, starting at 9 a.m. I know for a lot of folks that are in North America, especially in the northeast of the U.S., Toronto I'm in Charlotte, and it's a 2-hour flight. So even getting up early that morning, and getting into Toronto is not that huge of a task. So I think Toronto is a fantastic location to not only work with or to bring in the folks that are in Canada, but also a lot of the PBSH developers and service providers that are in the U.S. as well, that are looking to work with the universities and the PBSA providers that are in Canada. Really quick for listeners that are planning to attend the conference, and again, this is May 28th, as you mentioned. What other kind of suggestions would you make to make sure that they've kind of got a positive return on investment from spending their time and money to go into the conference?
Yeah, the best way to kind of to maximize the ROI from attending is to treat the summit as both a market intelligence session and a strategic kind of a networking platform. we've designed the agenda, as you mentioned, very intentionally, so that every panel delivers real data-driven insights, and not only opinions, but also actual benchmarks, trends, and case studies from Canada and internationally. We'll be also having some international speakers flying in, like Simon Velez from DWS. We are also bringing international benchmarks as a global research company. And at the same time, the room will be we'll have more than 300 senior and executive level professionals from across the sector. So that means in one day you can meet the exact people you would otherwise probably spend months, trying to reach out to, from all kind of the sectors, like all the investors, operators, developers, lenders, universities, and other partners. So I think the real ROI comes from combining those two elements with a high quality intelligence and benchmarks that we can offer as a research company, and thanks to the great lineup of the speakers, and high quality relationships and connections. So the combination is what actually helps, organization refine the strategies and move faster in the Canadian market.
Well, great. And I'm going to put up really quick the registration here. $6.99 is a regular ticket, $699 Canadian dollars. And you guys have a special early bird ticket that will save them $100 Canadian dollars if they do that by March 15th. So this podcast will certainly be out prior to that deadline. You want to talk a little bit about, I don't know how familiar you may be with the venue and where they can find a hotel and who you guys are partnering with from that standpoint.
We're partnering for the venue with the Heinz. You can see it's a T3 Bayside when you visit our webpage. It's a beautiful asset, kind of a more wooden style, next to the lake with the beautiful views at the same time. We're
nice.
Be having a whole floor split between the networking areas, obviously food and beverages, and the content areas. It's well connected. It's pretty downtown, so you can get there pretty easily from the train station, also from the airports. And the easiest ways, to visit or to find more information, just visit Barnard.com, and you can find the Toronto Student Housing Summit in the Inside section, and you can see all the details about the location, lineup, agenda, and registration, obviously, together with the pricing that you just mentioned.
Well, perfect. Well, Martin, I appreciate you coming on and taking a little bit of time out to call us all the way from Vienna and give us some insight into this event coming up. I've gone to a couple of other events in Canada, and it's always it's a great country to visit, especially when it's in May and not in January or February. So. I am hoping when we go there in May that we'll be holding the trophy, the gold medal from the Olympics, which we're in right now, and hopefully both countries will come out with a lot of gold medals from that. But thanks so much for your time. And is there any other parting words or anything that you want to share with our audience before we go?
Yeah, I think absolutely. My probably last point would be that over the years we became the address for the data and transparency in Canadian student housing market, and the summit became a real place to not only access all the data but all the key connections. So it's probably the biggest student housing event that is happening in Canada, and we'll be very happy to see everyone else from states and other places of the world to come and join us.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Wesley.
Well, again, big thanks to Martin for taking some time out and speaking with us about their upcoming summit in Toronto that, again, is happening May 28th. Well, I think that does it for this episode, guys. I certainly hope to see you at one of these events. If you do see me and we've never met before, would love for you to come up and say hello and tell me that you heard about that event on the podcast. And would love to know in the comments, which one of these events do you plan on attending? Would love to see that in the comments. And hey, before you register for any of these events, don't forget to check out the events page for those discount codes And don't forget to register to receive notifications for our Shop Talk webinars. Those have a ton of great information if you are involved with the operations and leasing and marketing of off-campus housing. So guys, that does it. Take care, and we'll see you hopefully in real life at one of these events. And if not, hope to see you on the next Shop Talk. Take care.